let's just see where we are on the sovereign slave spectrum. It's a little quiz, and you start out with 100 points of an allowance, so they are 100 empowerment points. We're going to make some deductions and some additions, and then I'll show you the chart, and you can self-evaluate where you are. So start with 100, but deduct 10 for each of these. So if you went to school, use a doctor or take pharmaceuticals, you're registered to vote or currently married or sharing a bed, and I'll explain that later if you remind me. If you're paying taxes, bills or fines, deduct 10 points for each. So there's only 5 there. So if you went to school, you're down to 90. If you use a doctor or pharmaceuticals, you're down to 80. You got the idea, yeah? All right? Everyone got their current total? Yeah. Moving on. So now deduct another 10 points if you're addicted or obsessively compulsive, if you're currently employed or on government credits, currently paying a mortgage or rent, dependent... See, these are normal things, normalised anyway. Dependent on a high street bank account, car registered in legal name to DVLA. So if you're very conformist, you'll probably be on 0 right now because you've deducted 10 times 10. That's fairly normal. Yeah, sad but true, we could file that as. If you're finding real calculating, mental arithmetic very difficult, then you were at school for way too long. That's not a gag. There's no humour in that. That's the fact. You were neglected or abused or bullied at school and you switched off in maths class. Right, now we're adding. So you may be on 0 or 10 or 30, it doesn't matter. Now we're going back up. We're going through the positive side towards sovereignty. Add 10 points if you speak a foreign language. If you play a musical instrument or have a special gift or talent that people recognise and would reward you for in a community. Or feed you. You do what you're good at and they feed you, for example. So we're looking for aspects of ourselves that will be absorbed into a community and giving and receiving value. Do you see where I'm going with this? Rather than being on someone's payroll, which is the beast system. Eat only organic, farmed or grow your own food. Never or hardly ever get ill. Happy or content pretty much all the time. These are sovereign traits because the spark is obviously still in there. Adding 10 for each of those. Add 10 points if you practice conscious breathing or meditation. Add 10 points if you drink or bathe in pure, at least filtered water. It's more important to bathe in pure water than it is to drink it. Way more important. Have no television or have it mostly switched off. Work for yourself or in a cooperative. Play, dance, sing or have fun regularly. Add 10 for each of those. Now add 20. Now you're adding 20 because these are even more powerful positives. 1. Do or have done shadow work or trauma release. Shadow work, basically you're looking at your dark side, all the traumas, resentments and all the shit, and you're facing them in whatever way you think is appropriate. 2. Use mainly cash, exchange or barter. 3. Do not use a smartphone or use de-googled one. 4. Home educate or were home educated, and there wasn't room to put or are actively involved in home education, because you could be a tutor or a consultant that's come out of the system and is doing the right thing. 5. Do your own research into everything, so you don't take anyone's word for anything. 6. Have practical or survival skills. 7. Not dependent on credit rating. In other words, you don't give a shit about some financial institution's evaluation of your virtuousness. It's sick. When you know that money doesn't exist, you realise how sick it is. Now, add 50 to whatever grand total you got if you feel that you do not need the approval or permission of anyone else. That's going to be rare. So, because it's rare, you deserve 50. Now, you should have a grand total. And what I would say is, if you're up around 300, certainly 250 or over, you're pretty much liberated, you're sovereign. If you're below that, 170 to 240, you're a work in progress, but you're doing very well. Keep going. Just keep going. If you're 80 to 160, you're pretty much stuck in the matrix. Then if you're 0 to 70, come and see me afterwards, and we'll talk it through. So there you go. It's a fun piece of entertainment, but in there I've sown a few seeds so that if you're not already liberated, and I doubt whether anyone is totally liberated. I'm not totally liberated, but I'm on my way. The seeds you can see. You can see where progress can be made. Remember that slaves need permission. Sovereigns do not. If you think you are sovereign and someone challenges you, then the mindset should be, excuse me, but who are you? So it's the gentle, respectful contempt. Who are you? That will work, I promise you. These psychopaths, they can sense the contempt, they don't like it. But don't give them sycophancy. Don't give them people-pleasing. You went to school for too long if you're still people-pleasing. Who are you? You can test random strangers for sovereignty and consciousness using the trolley dash experiment, which I think I actually started because I've never heard it. So one day I found myself bashing someone's trolley in a supermarket and found that they apologised to me. And then I tried it again and the same thing happened. And I tried it a third time and the same thing happened. So I drew some conclusions. And the conclusions that I drew were that people are just walking around in a daze. And so that's the mass formation hypnosis. And secondly, they're walking around with residual post-traumatic guilt and trauma. They don't want the conflict, the confrontation. They'd rather apologise and say sorry to you and have the whole thing done with than have an inquiry as to whose trolley hit whom and why. Try it. And do it with an evil, demonic grin on your face. And you'll still get the apology from them. Now, funnily enough, it works the other way around with a car. They can hit you and they get out of their vehicle with steam coming out of there. They've hit you. And they're looking at you and expecting the apology from you. And you say, well, my handbrake is on. How can I have hit you? People are strange. Just tested positive for sovereignty. Symptoms include critical thinking, bodily autonomy, speaking my truth, the gift of discernment, standing up against tyranny, advocating for my kids, socially distancing from the system and from idiocy. Because there's a lot of idiocy around. Even people in very prominent positions say one thing one day and then the exact opposite a few days later. Well, either they are utterly evil and gaslighting us, and that is true in some cases, or they are brain dead.